Hello, hello. Good good evening. I know for most of you folks who are in the Southeast Asia time zone and to the rest of the world, GM. So I think it's been a while since we had an official town hall. I think prior to this, most of the updates went to the happy hour. The reason why we've decided to bring back a town hall is we realized that there are some topics and some updates that many of you folks will have missed if you don't call it a town hall, right? If we just call it a happy hour. So that's the reason why we're going to bring back a town hall, at least to give updates on a monthly basis, specifically only like on the about DAO and how we're going. So couple of things on the agenda today. We will touch a bit on the progress that we have done, that we have made. And hey, Chris, welcome to the stream.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Having a connection issue, but hopefully you can hear me now.
No worries. Chris, I was just giving an update on the agenda for today to the folks, right? And just to continue, right? So basically, we'll do a bit of an update on where we're at, some updates around the DAO, the gaming community, the platforms that we are building, and even updates on the team, right? I think we've grown quite a bit as well. And we want to also bring more and more of our team members onto the stream as well, so that you guys can be acquainted with them. And there'll be more and more physical events happening as well. So good to get names to the faces. And then towards the end, after we are like probably half an hour in, we'll open the floor for any questions. So it could be questions around the gaming side of things from the gamers. It could be questions around the DAO. It'd be questions around like some of the PIPs that is running currently. So we would give you guys an opportunity to just ask any kind of questions, and we will answer. Feel free to type those questions in the YouTube chat box. And
yeah, don't hesitate, you guys, to don't hesitate to write those as we're talking. I'm gonna monitor them, and also you guys don't remember to subscribe to our channel. So like we're just under 300 people right now. We really want to grow that. We're going to be opening up the YouTube channel a lot to our gamer community. So creating content, engaging with the community is a big focus here for us. So liking and subscribing like really helps. So thank you for doing that.
Right. Chris, you wanna
do we want to Jansen? Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I think obviously there's been a lot going on like the last couple of weeks with all the PIP. We have some pretty relevant information to talk about today about future PIPs. But let's go back just a little bit, Jensen and Wiki. Polygon just went live last week. We did an announcement on that. That was related to PIP 5, correct?
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit? Can you talk a little bit about like the significance of that, and just for people in the community now listening, like what exactly does that mean for them? How does that affect them?
Yeah. Basically, Polygon it's important because gas fees, right? And right now, there are a few things that we're going to do. So I think as of today, I think many of you guys saw the announcement, right? Polygon, right now it's available for people to, number one, claim community tokens. So I think a lot of you folks who are part of our DAO from the get-go, we use our tokens to incentivize you guys for many things. Now you guys can claim it without all the unnecessary gas fees on the Ethereum chain. So that's one that's available. Number two, trading as well is available. So you can go to KyberSwap, and there is a pool available for you to buy and sell Path tokens with very low gas fees. So that part is also now available. Now, going forward, the reason why Polygon is important as well is because there are a lot of things that we are going to do. Like, I think there are some being in discussions, like potentially a launch pad equivalent, because we're getting a lot of NFT drops and whitelists from our gaming partners. We could use that, couple it with Path tokens, build an INO launch pad, and having that on Polygon allows everyone to participate, right? Because you can it's low gas. So it allows us to build more utility. Another key utility that's going to come out soon, it's around the gaming community, right? How, if gamers, you guys, we'll give an update also as well later on the EXP system. But, if you hold path tokens and whatnot, right, there'll be some cool stuff that you can get. And down the road as well, with our path finance being scaled in the next couple of months, that will also require Polygon for the incentive drops for people who help us scale that platform as well. So there are a lot of things that Polygon will allow us to do at scale, and I think that's just the first step into adding massive utility to the path tokens.
Yeah, this was something like Wiki, as you know, like from all the Discord and the chats, like Polygon was something that definitely people like were asking for a while. It was awesome to see like the team deliver on it. It takes a little while. Like we've been rolling through like the PIPs really quickly, and so obviously once we pass the PIPs, like the team is working on this stuff immediately. But it took about a month, to get Polygon going. But it's now live, and hopefully the community really appreciates that. I think PIP 6 is also something, what's interesting is that, like PIP, the one we're going to discuss a little bit later, is something that we need to discuss because of timing, right? But a lot of the PIPs, like they're really like community driven. PIP 6, I think, is like a really good reflection of this, especially the part with the buybacks. Can you guys talk a little bit about, PIP 6? It's already passed. And I believe you guys can talk about this too. We've already started doing some buybacks. Can you just explain the relevance of that and just give some background so the community understands like the importance of that?
Vicky, you want to take that?
Oh yeah, okay. Caught me off guard. So I think for PIP 6, the core reason why we did that was that the community felt that there was a slight disconnect between the treasury performance and the token price. And so really appreciate folks like Octavia, Mark, and Carlos to basically come up with proposals and thinking about how to better connect sort of the treasury and the token price, right? And so we went through a lot of discussion and we did our voting, and in the end we came up with Burnt, so buyback, and basically so we use our realized gain to do buybacks, because actually in the past months through our different gaming operations we've been cash flow positive and managed to actually realize a bit of gains. And when I say a bit, it's in sort of between a range of $200,000 to $500,000 a month in the past months, right? So the community basically say that, let's take X percentage of the gains and actually buy back the tokens from the market, right? And so that's a very sort of elegant way to connect the treasury performance and the token price.
But I think one thing to note as well, right? Just to also manage expectations, right, is that the way we operate the treasury of the DAO is that the objective is it's a long-term treasury building, right? Like we always want to build the treasury. So you notice, right, there'll be a lot of profits that we are already in the green, but we will not realize it just for the sake of the buyback, right? Because that's not the objective of the DAO. It's not about buybacks, right? The objective of the treasury is to build up. The objective of the DAO is to build up the treasury. So I think one example you can see is our step-end operations, right? I think from that operations alone, we are sitting at $600,000 of gains in the past 1-2 months, and we've only realized, I think, only like 60,000 of it to 100,000, right? We haven't realized the full profit, the unrealized profits, because we believe there's still a long runway. That's why we did not, right? And then for projects that we believe that the upside is more limited, and that's where we start realizing profits. Also, to add a note to the wider community as well, who have been tracking our investments, right? The current stance of the DAO is not to take profit during a TGE event. Now, we know that a lot of VCs do that, a lot of other DAOs do that, a lot of other gaming DAOs do that, right? But we believe heavily in the teams that we invest in, and dumping tokens immediately on vesting at the start before even the game reaches its full potential, it just speaks otherwise, right? It just shows that we are, just a profit-taking mechanism, right? But I think the idea here is that the current stance is we don't take TGE profits, we build long with the team, and the gains, especially for the private token investments, will likely be realized in a 1 to 3 year window horizon. Okay? The ones where we'll contribute a lot more heavily to the PIP6 buybacks would be our asset management profit take, so like operations of the secondary market where we buy and sell NFTs or tokens, and yield farming from our idle cash, because all idle cash are parked, be it in Anchor, be it in Stargate and crypto.com, right? So those yield will be used for profit realization and buybacks. So just want to set the scene a bit clearly, right? The
I
private
think,
investment.
Jensen, also something important to mention here.
Yep.
Yeah, Jensen, something I think also that's important to mention here that I've really realized in communicating more a lot with these teams is that, a lot of these projects, like they're not, the first release is just the first part of it, right? So like a lot of these houses, these production like they have games in the pipelines. So, it's exciting to see some of these projects really grow quickly, but, as you're sharing, the vision is a lot more. It's a commitment to the team and a commitment to their vision.
Yeah, and I think that's the idea, right? Because I think we've in Amsterdam recently in Dev Connect, we've also managed to get an opportunity to speak to a lot of other VCs, right? And we've realized there's a clear distinction between VCs who take profit on TGE. It's not as reputable, right? Versus VCs who actually stay in for the long haul, right, and really build the team. So I think that's the objective.
I think something we've seen too is that like when these games are releasing, they're constantly working to improve the games. It's amazing, like from like my side, just seeing the communications with a lot of the teams. So for example, when these projects are released, it's not just like it's released and then they're done. They're really, really like working to improve the games and also then having, like I said, these other projects down the pipelines. I've been really impressed with some of the teams that we've been working with recently, just on that long-term vision. Well, you guys, again, don't hesitate to write any questions. We're going to be asking some questions at the end here. We've gone through a little now in terms of PIP5, which was related to Polygon. Jansen and Wiki just talked a little bit about PIP6, which was related to the buybacks. Now, you guys, we have another PIP coming up. It's been up for discussion. It's not live yet. But can you talk a little bit about like what the next PIP7 will be, and even why are we having this? Like for example, like Carlos and Octavia on PIP6, it was very community driven. Can you talk about the reason, like even why we're having PIP7?
Yeah. So for context for you folks, I mean, again, you can all, I think Chris, it's good if you can drop the link to our governance forum, right? So people understand what we're talking about, right? But basically PIP7 is about protocol owned liquidity pool, right? And for you folks that have been following projects, any project would require liquidity for trading, especially on a decentralized exchange like Uniswap and whatnot, right? And before this, what we have done and what a lot of projects do is they rent the liquidity by providing tokens in exchange. So as of today, or since January until March, I think 17, we are renting liquidity, right? Where we are telling people, hey, if you provide liquidity with us, we will give you PATH tokens in exchange for renting your liquidity. But the thing about renting liquidity is it's not permanent, right? There's only a finite amount of PATH tokens that we could use to pay for this rent. And on our projections, that renting liquidity is going to end in a year's time. We run out of tokens to actually pay for this rental. So fundamentally, then it begs the question of like, how can we have a more sustainable liquidity pool? And what we've realized is that at this stage, we could almost mimic the depth of the liquidity pool that we have today by just using some of our treasury money which is some of the realized profits that we had from like 3 months ago, and use that to provide and some additional Path tokens to provide liquidity. And what it allows us to do is, hence, Path will then own this liquidity pool. We will have a lot of liquidity to trade. We don't need to incentivize liquidity providers anymore. And the tokens that we use to incentivize these liquidity providers could be used for other things, right? One, it could be brought back to the treasury. It could be used for community rewards. Two, it could be used to elongate our staking environment to incentivize people to come into the ecosystem. Or three, it could be used to raise more funding in the future, right? When we require more capital, we can actually sell these tokens to VCs or to any kind of investors. So that is the potential upside for not spending this on renting liquidity, but rather on these other things that we've mentioned. And I think one thing to note, right? I'm not sure, Vicky, if you already have the graphs out, right? But I think just to add a bit on this point, because this whole liquidity environment can be a bit complicated, right? Especially if it's just described in pure text. And that was the reason why we held off the voting for PIP7, because I think some of the feedback that we got, some people just didn't understand what exactly PIP7 was about, right? But fundamentally, if you can pull out the charts, right, what you will see is that through PIP7's proposal, we get two things. One is that you will maintain an almost similar liquidity environment where below our current spot price, there is the same amount, actually higher amount of liquidity versus the current status quo. Above around 12 to 13 cents, you will also get a similar liquidity environment that we have as a status quo. The only difference is that currently there will be a gap between the current spot price and around 12 or 13 cents, where the liquidity environment will be really low. What this means is that in this between 2 cents and 13 cents, there'll be a very high volatility of price action. Like one Ethereum buy will probably cause the price to spike for 2 cents. Right now, to spike the price by 2 cents.
And Jensen, just in basic terms, like that's why liquidity is important, right? Liquidity is important because if there's not a lot of liquidity, then the price can fluctuate real rapidly.
Correct. So that's why, so in PIP7, right now, I think one of the questions is that some of you folks raised was, between the price point of 2 cents and 13 cents, should we even provide sufficient liquidity there, or should we just keep it as a vacuum? Now, for people who are concerned around the price action, alongside PIP6, it means there's going to be a constant buyback happening. With a vacuum state in that liquidity between 2 cents and 13 cents, these buybacks would amplify the price in a larger scale. So like a buyback of 100K would take you up probably like 5 to 8 cents in a vacuum environment. But a buyback of 100K in a proper liquidity environment that we have today will only bring up the price by like, I don't know, 1 cent, right? So I think that's the difference, right? And the reason why we think, and I think some of the community as well share this thinking, right, that it's actually okay to have a vacuum state between 2 cents and 13 cents is because the current fair value of the token price, which is you take the total treasury value divided by a total circulating supply, it's around 12 cents. So hence, the idea was to let the buybacks that the DAO is executing with PIP6 to help push the price up into around the environment. And then once you're in the 12 cents above environment, you have a deep liquidity pool for natural price discovery. So that is one of the current thinking. But for you folks who believe that there should be a price discovery even at a 2 cent environment, feel free to voice it out, right? And we're happy to discuss.
Yeah, I think Jensen, by any chance you could pull out the graph instead. But let me actually address two questions in the community. So I think there's one question from Joko, which is, if we already have a limit buy 10 to 30% below market price, why do we still need this PIP for liquidity? I think today, if we look at our price, which is at 2 cents, below the 2 cents, we have around $500,000 worth of liquidity that is incentivized by the yield farm, right? So that's $500,000. If we just focus on the limit buy order, as of today, we only have around 50,000. And obviously, as time goes by in the coming months, as we realize more gains, the limit buy order will increase. But we are not sure how quickly will it be 500,000. Will it be as much as $500,000? That means, do the day happen, we will have to actually have some form of injection of liquidity, just so that price actually can be stabilized. I think that's basically the key reason why we still want to do that, despite already having sort of a limit buy order 10 to 30% below market price. There is a second question by Chok, CHOK, which is, will the 500K be deployed immediately to buy Path, or will it be spread out over a few months? I think when we say it's a protocol-owned liquidity, it basically means that we will inject below the market price. What it means that we are not market buying Path tokens. We're not market buying Path tokens, right? We will basically spread it between today 2 cents all the way to 0.00001 cents. And so then, as people sell, the price is less likely to slip lower. So it's not a market buy, but it's more of a lower range injection. And I think Jensen is pulling out the graph, which is easier to understand.
Yeah, so just to add to that, right? I mean, we've spoken this in one of the happy hours, right? But just to bring this up again, there are 3 graphs here that you guys can see, right? 1, 2, and 3. It's a bit blur, but just look at the lines, right? I think that's more indicative. They are drawn to scale, so they are all equal. This I think it's 2.5 million or something like that, right? And it's equal across the board. I think the idea, what you're seeing here, is that today, this is the leftmost what do you call it, chart that signifies the liquidity environment today. The y-axis here is how much USD equivalent of a liquidity pool. A taller bar here means it's a deeper liquidity, means that when people buy or sell, there is less slippage, right? So meaning if I buy 100,000, the price will barely go up because it's a very deep liquidity environment. It helps when there are big players coming in. So this is the state today. In the first chart, right? The x-axis is basically the price point. So like I think here is around probably like 2 cents, and here's around like 13 cents, and here's all the way up to $1. So this is the liquidity environment that we have today, right? Now, in the event that we continue, say, with the liquidity renting environment, but we only halve the emissions. So we rent liquidity, but we reduce the reward rate for the LP farmers to allow for a longer LP farming environment. This is the projected liquidity environment. So your liquidity will drop by a lot, right? And we are still renting, means we are still paying Path tokens to get this liquidity pool for probably a year worth of run rate. But after a year, you effectively lose this blue line, which is the rented liquidity, right? And then you're left with the orange lines and the yellow lines and the green lines. And these are basically liquidity that is owned by Path already today. PIP7 in its current state is proposing an environment like the third chart. So we don't rent any liquidity, so there's no light blue line. Everything is protocol owned. What we do is we provide around 500,000 worth of USD of liquidity below the spot price today. Hence, you'll see that we'll have a higher liquidity environment below the current market price versus even today. And then over time, our PIP6B, we have 60% of any profit take will be placed into a limit buy order 10 to 30% below the current price, which is effectively also providing liquidity below that price point. Hence why you see a bit of a spike here. You see a bit of a spike here, right? So that is what PIP6 will do. And then we will provide our own native path tokens above around 12 to 13 cents, which is the treasury value divided by the circulating supply, to allow for a more proper price discovery, hence a deeper liquidity pool here. And then at its current state, PIP7 it's proposing to not layer in path tokens in this liquidity environment, so that PIP6B buybacks will be more effective. Right? So basically in this between 2 cents here and 12 cents here, it's a vacuum state. So a 100K buyback, will actually make the price fly. But it will hold the same the other way, right? If people sells, it will also have a large slippage going down. So I think that's the current proposal of PIP7 in its current form. So I hope that this gives a bit more flavor, right, of how the liquidity environment will look. The great thing about, again, the third model is that it's perpetual. Like, this will last forever because this is protocol owned. This liquidity is protocol owned versus the first two. These two will expire within a year.
Jensen, one question: Will it affect like the rewards, like emissions, like for the other pool at all? Can you touch about we're talking about one pool, but will this affect the other pool at all?
Yeah, so I think this is a point that I think Essen has been and even CKS has been raising, right, from the community standpoint. The current proposal does not affect the single-sided staking at all, right? But what this proposal allows us to have is now a larger bank of path tokens that could be used for other things, right? Which include a potential to increase the staking rewards for the single-sided pool. But that one we will have a PIP8, right, where we would have a discussion on what's this number should look like, right? Should we increase it to what value?
Yeah. Maybe let me jump in here a little bit on this single-sided staking, because as of today, so for a little bit of context, if you look at tokenomics chart, we have 1 billion path tokens. 15% of that, which is 150 million, are dedicated to staking. And when you say staking, it includes both the LP farming as well as single-sided. So that's 150 million that we can use. At the moment, we have already committed around 26 million to LP farming. Sorry, 23 million to LP farming, and we are committing another around 26 million to in the first month, right? So that gives us around 100 million left to do something. And of this 100 million, we have committed 30 million for single-sided staking until next year, January. So this gives us around 70 million to play around when it comes to the staking reward, right? So if we were to continue the current admission rate of single staking and we stop the LP farming, we will be able to continue the admission of single-sided staking until January 2025, right? So if we continue the same rate until January 2025. Now, if we want to increase the rate for single-sided staking from today's rate, that means the emission will basically stop before January 2025. So that's basically a debate that we will have to have internally, right? And obviously, what I made here is making an assumption that all the buybacks token are not being dedicated back to single-sided staking emission, which again, it's another proposal for the community to discuss. But just a bit of numbers for everyone to keep in mind.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, on this point, right? I mean, if you folks have any questions,
earlier we were talking. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, my point is, if there's any questions specifically on these, right?
Jensen, did you want to add something more there, or can I ask another question?
Go ahead, Chris.
So we talked a little bit about Polygon earlier. When is staking going to be available on Polygon?
Yeah, so staking on Polygon, it's a tricky thing, right? Because right now we actually were thinking of it, but the problem about that is you need to balance the emissions very carefully between the Polygon staking and the Ethereum staking. We can explore. Actually, I think that's something that we can start looking at. But the idea is that it has to be a slow. It might be slow in a bit, right? And it has to be a mechanism in place because we don't know how many people would actually want to stake in Polygon, right? So we can't over amplify the rewards that's being given on Polygon. Because you think about it, staking contracts don't interact. When one is on Ethereum, one is on Polygon, they don't interact. So there might be a time where on Polygon, you might even get a 300% APR at the start because no one else is in Polygon yet. Because we haven't really built sufficient utility or reasons why people should migrate their Path tokens from Ethereum to Polygon, right? So yeah, so right now it's very hard to estimate like, how much reward should go into the Polygon pool, right? We could potentially start a Polygon pool and we do an estimate based on the community tokens that has been given out because I believe that most of the tokens that we stake in Polygon would probably come from the community tokens. And then we'll monitor if there's any buy pressure on the Polygon side, and then we can then maybe on a bi-weekly basis adjust the reward rates on Polygon. That's something that we can potentially explore as well.
Yeah. I think if the community wants that, it's our job to sort of overcome the technical difficulties, and we will overcome, right? So big thanks for the request, and we definitely look into that. And I think there's another question from Joko, which is around, could you stop staking altogether, right? Traditionally, like staking was started because in Ethereum or all the other element proof of stake chain, that you are basically trying to be part of the validation, and you actually improve the security of the chain, right? And then obviously now people kind of modify the function and now basically say that if you diamond hand, I'm gonna give you a bit more of our tokens. The way we think about this single staking is that building takes time. If you look at what we are trying to build today, we're trying to do investments. We're trying to grow our community with tournaments, social events, bringing a lot of fun games to the community. But also at the same time, we're trying to build projects, right? Which I think Jensen will go into that a little bit more when it comes to the fintech or the social platform. But these things take time. So what we want to do then is, until beautiful things actually happen from our hard work, we want to reward you with staking reward, right? Thanks for being patient with us. And hopefully, at the end of the day, when things start flourishing, there's no more reason for you to sell Path tokens because it's just so amazing, right? And you don't even need staking reward anymore. So that's our point of view. And until then, because we've promised to have staking reward, and I think we will at least honor our staking reward emission until January 2023.
And I think also important to point out, Wiki, that we really appreciate all the contribution like from the community, right? So like we want to reward you for like holding the tokens, but like the discussions, like if you guys aren't checking out like the DAO forum, like there's some really, really good like discussions going on there. The team is reading that stuff every day. So we want the community, we want the community to really be creating and leading the conversations. So just because like, we might not be jumping in there every hour and responding to everything, it's more because like we really, really enjoy seeing the constructive conversations that are going on, and that's like critical like to our future growth. So even the questions you guys are asking today, there's no question that's silly, right? It's all important, and as a DAO, we're also all really learning together. Personally, I'm from the marketing side, but over the last couple of weeks, like seeing all the discussions going on the tokenomics, on the financial side, it's been real interesting for me to be learning as well. So
yeah. Okay, so I think if that's the case, I mean that touches a bit on the PIPs and hopefully it clarifies stuff. We will launch the voting for PIP 7 probably like starting Monday. So if you guys have any concerns or amendments that you guys want to propose, do let us know before that voting happens, right? I think let's move on to the more exciting part, right? Because these are all very technical things around the DAO and tokenomics and stuff, right? But I think there's a lot more exciting stuff to update you folks about what has been going on, both behind the scenes and in front of the scenes, right? Some of you guys might be more aware if you guys have been like following every single announcement on Discord, every single things that have been discussed. But for you folks who are not around, we'd love to give you guys an update, right? So I think on this bit, right, maybe let me just give a couple of key ones, right? So I think first of all, the team has grown significantly. So we were a team of around 7 people in December, and today we are a team of 25 core people, and we are supported by around 10 to 12 contract staff, be it on the tech side or on the marketing side. So in terms of what's happening, right? Like how is the PathDAO execution team is structured? We'd love to give you guys a bit of a flavor, right? So fundamentally, there's 3 key things that we do at Path today, right? With the same vision that we set out to do at the start of the year, right? And the vision fundamentally is to bring millions to the metaverse. And the idea is so important is because what we've realized with all this capital and talent and projects coming out in the Web3 gaming space, every founder of a game that we've spoken to in person over our chats for investments and whatnot has been asking us, how do they get gamers? How do they get distribution? And that is where we come in, right, strategically, right? And our goal is to effectively create an ecosystem where we have really strong community of gamers. Today, we are standing at 5 to 7K. Tomorrow, in the months to come, we want to grow this number to 100K, right? Ideally by end of the year, right? If not early next year. And we to achieve this, we do 3 things, right? The first part is the investments part. The second part is the gaming community growth part. And the third part is the tech part, the platform creation part. So the first part, this one, many of you guys will be familiar. We have a dashboard out on app.pathdao.io. Here we have 2 groups of people, right? We have an investments team who talk to founders, they go in early, get a private deal. And the idea is that in the next 1 to 3 years, someone's going to make it big, and that's where we profit. As part of this investments team as well, there is an asset management team. And these folks, they are more short-term horizon window. They see opportunities on the secondary market. We get in, it might be a scholarship play. We get our scholars and our gamers involved. It might be a pure NFT or token trading play. Then we do that, right? So I think that's where you saw our profits from PayXC, our profits from StepN, profits of some of the other stuff like crypto unicorns and whatnot. They come from the asset management play. And this is a more like, short-term horizon window, secondary market stuff. The objective of this investments team is to get a lot of game partners into our ecosystem so that when we build, our gamers have amazing games to get into, right? So that's the first thing that we're building. The second thing that we're building, and in this first team that we're building, right, there's effectively 3 people in the investments team and 3 people in the asset management team today. So that's that group of people focusing on making the treasury grow. The second thing that we are doing is to build a massive, vibrant gaming community. People like, Aru here, right? I see he's very active on this chat. People like Monlino, right? I think the idea here is that, we want to grow our scholarship base, but we're not focusing just purely on scholarships, right? If you see an opportunity to help you guys make money alongside us, we want to do that. But it's also to grow an active gamer community, both in the free-to-play scene, in the pay-to-win scene, in the scholarship scene. And the idea is that we want to just grow this bunch of gamers out, right? And today we already have gamers in Philippines, in Malaysia, in Indonesia, and these are the 3 biggest ones that we have. And we have a lot more across the world, right? South America, South Africa as well, and a bit even in the Europes. So the idea is that we want to scale this. There's a team of around 7 people today that is working full-time, right? Julian and Justin are the key leaders driving this bit, and many of you guys will know them. The objective here is to make a very fun environment, right, for you guys to thrive in, both from the earning perspective, but also from the gaming perspective, right? And in the coming weeks, we've already started a few. There'll be events on the ground, but there'll be more and more of these, right? And the idea is that we want you guys to to not just be with us to explore the Web3 space, but also to game with each other, right? And to really build this group of really cool bunch of gamer friends that we explore the Web3 gaming space together. And also even some Web2 games, right? And that's what we're building up. And that's the second bit. The third thing that we're building, and honestly, this is the most exciting bit, which I want to give you guys a deeper update, right? Which is building out, is basically effectively becoming a tech company and building out platforms that allow us to create a stronger ecosystem and a more engaging ecosystem where many of you as gamers would stick around and spend time in this ecosystem because there's so much things to do. Two things we are building out here, right? Today, the idea behind this is we are right now we have a tech team and a product team. Right now there are about 5 people in the core team, and it's supported by contract staff building out these products. The first one is a social gaming platform, and the idea behind this is, you think about LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn is a social network where you have discussions around professional stuff, right? What we want to build is a LinkedIn for gamers where the conversation is purely for gaming. People would share, amazing clips. You do a 360 headshot, right? Or you do a massive clan raid on another clan, right? Or you had some super cool strategy that you want to share with the world, right? All this kind of short clips, long video clips, pictures, images, content. We want to put it out there on the platform for you guys to participate and people beyond you guys as well to come into the Path ecosystem to participate. And then we use the Web3 element where we use the tokens to incentivize both content creation and content engagement. So now there's also an additional reason apart from the fun of it to share content is because you now have an incentive. If you share the coolest content, a lot of people would tip you, allow you to earn tokens, and also allow your content to be ranked higher, and it goes out to wider audiences, right? And that's the beauty of the platform that we're creating. Now, where we are at in this stage. So right now we've developed, this platform is called Game Street, right? Right now we have developed the gamer identity function and the quest function in Game Street. Here is where all our gamers and also gamers outside the Path ecosystem could sign up for a profile and participate in the quest to level up. And when you level up, you get a lot of cool stuff, right? When you keep leveling up, be it by participating in our games, achieving certain milestones, attending our AMAs, contributing content, right? Creating cool stuff, making our community more vibrant. You'll be awarded EXP points, and this allows you to rank up. When you rank up, you get a lot of cool stuff. You get access to merch, you get better rates from Path Finance, better credit limits, you get priority access to our scholarship program, you get access to whitelist for NFT drops from our gaming partners. You get a lot of cool stuff as you progress, right? And I think that's what is there today already. For you guys who are not aware yet, and if you are a gamer and you do not have a profile yet, I would advise you to do it, right? To get a profile up on Game Street, because the earlier you are, the better head start you get. The cooler you will be in the community. So that's where we are, right? But the next most important thing, which is going to happen in the next 2 weeks, right, or 2 to 3 weeks, is the social element, right? So right now we have a gamer identity. Next bit is we want to allow you to share content. It could be a video, it could be a picture, it could be some lines or strategies, right? We want you to be able to do that, right? And initially it'll be invite based. You really you want to create the content and you want to test it out, and then over time you'll allow these guys to invite more people. So get active, right? If you guys are active, you guys will be the first group of people that will have early access to this platform. And you get to experience this social network that we're trying to build out for gamers. Yep. And down the line, right, I think the idea is that we're going to start bringing in its own tokens to incentivize content creation and whatnot, right? And then you'll start having like easy ways to upload content, share, and start spreading wider and wider. So yeah, so I think that's a bit on the social gaming platform. It's already out, and you guys will be able to use the social element of it in 3 weeks from now. Yeah, so I think that's a bit on the social gaming platform and where we stand. The other key project that we're building, it's the financial services platform. So we've already launched Path Finance about a month ago. We got a lot of applications. I think fortunately, unfortunately, we had to reject several actually, in fact, right? And the reason behind the rejections for those of you who got rejected is because we do not have enough data points on you to confidently give you a loan yet, right? So for you guys who have been rejected, right, spend more time in the community, participate in the games, build out your presence in the Discord and in our gaming community, and especially sign up for Game Street and rank up on Game Street, because that is a key determining factor of how we assess your creditworthiness in the network. So we are already past the first MVP stage. We've got a lot of data. It's pretty good. I think 60% of people pay back on time, like without any need for calling you out or reminding you. So that's amazing. The other 40% needs reminders, or some of them have a bit of a delay on the loan. The good thing is that we haven't had a default yet, so that's great. And honestly, I hope that all you guys who come for the loan, use it wisely, right? Don't use it for some random investments trying to like short 40x leverage, right? Don't do that kind of stuff, right? Use it for like proper reasons in life. So I think the idea, we are now at that initial data collection stage, right? So now we have about 100 plus people who applied, and we are sitting around like 40 people plus that are actively running on the loans. We are controlling the scaling of this program. We don't want to scale it too hard yet. We just want to give it to people that we are very active in our community and that we know that can pay back. And then what's happening next is we're actually designing an environment where we utilize a social construct. A bit difficult word, right? But basically, we are trying to create an environment where we can scale, but only through people who be able to pay back the loans. And how we are doing that is that, okay, the initial group of people who take a loan from us, right, and pay back on time, you guys are credit-worthy people. What we'll do is they will allow you to recommend one friend, only one friend to the network to borrow loans, right? If your friend pays his loan back on time, you will get rewarded with tokens, right? And it's quite significant. And the idea is then, if the person that you recommend does not pay the loan or he defaults on the loan, you lose the ability to recommend another person, right? And the idea, this builds up an environment where people are incentivized to bring someone that you know that actually can pay the loan. And that's how we scale in a safer manner, right? And that's the initial hypothesis that we're working out. We are creating, our tech guys are deploying a platform to help with this within this week or next, right? So we would start the scaling already. I think many of you guys would have received a personal notification from, I think, Bad Cookie, which is the guy helping to build out the product on this Path Finance side. For you guys who initially qualify to give out these referral codes. So we're doing an initial like invite only scale, and then probably once the platform launches, we will aim to scale to around 500 loan borrowers, and we'll again start reading the data, and then if we are still performing as well as we are today, we will then scale that to the next 2,000 or 3,000 or 10,000 people, right? And then we will see how we develop with it. So the platform for the loan application, it makes everything more seamless, and it allows us to implement this network effect that allows us to recruit people who can actually pay their loans on time into the network. So that's already happening today. The platform we're launching within the week or next, right? And I think that would be a start of how we really crack uncollateralized lending in the Web3 space. Right now, no one has done it, and I think we are one of the first few that are doing it at a reasonable scale, and hopefully, we can be first to market to really really change how banking should be for people across the globe. So yeah, so that's the third thing that we're building, right? That's the platform play that we're building, and it takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of time, and honestly, that third bit is where Path will experience that next growth curve or growth lever, right? Because I think if you can successfully roll out a social network and a financial service platform that can really cater for gamers, both in the Web2 and Web3 space, we are going to be a major player in this Web3 league. So I think what I will ask for you folks here, right, is contribute to this, right? There'll be a lot of opportunities coming out in the next few weeks where we need early testers, where we want to get feedback and to grow the platform so that you guys will actually have a really great experience. So take this opportunity to help us grow these projects, right? And let's build something really, really amazing together here. Yeah, so I think that's basically.
I think something important.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, just something to add on there, Jensen, as you were saying, is remember, you guys, like if, for example, you don't get accepted that first time on the loan, like you can reapply later on. So it's really important to like build up your history, build up, your contribution. And also like on Game Street, like just a reminder, like sign up now, like start getting involved now, because like you really want to be part of like that first group. So, being active in that, it's gonna matter down the road. So that's, if you want some alpha from Jensen's talk right there, I think that's it.
Yeah, so I think that's
a lot of good comments too.
Yeah, man. Okay, so I think that's probably that, right? In terms of
we got some exciting stuff.
I think the next bit, I think Chris, sorry, I think it's a bit lagging on your side. But I think the next key thing, it's also a bit on an update around the whole investments landscape, right? And how we see the overall gaming industry as of today, even in this bear market and over the next couple of months, right? I think the idea it's very interesting, and I think we would love to share our thinking. But I think with that, we have a member from our investments team that is good, that we can get on board to also give you guys a flavor of the land, right? And also just a bit of an update to the wider guys, right, who are also quite interested in the investment environment. I think the investment team, the three of our key analysts have been doing really well. We've grown a lot in the past 4 months, right? And as of today, we are at a stage where a lot of projects come to us for investments. Back in January, we are the ones going out there, right, to really reach out. I think we are in a very, very good state now. People are recognizing the value that we are creating. I mean, in fact, yesterday, right, one of our gaming partners was telling us that we are one of the guilds that are scaling the fastest in that game, right? Versus the other major guilds in Southeast Asia as well. So I think that's a good thing, right? It just means that we really have a truly vibrant and really strong team, and also a gaming community with us, right? I think kudos to you guys as well on that. But yeah, so I think let's get Josh on board, right? Good to show you guys a face of someone from our investment team who has been working really, really hard to get us all these amazing deals and all these amazing games, right? Josh, you want to give a quick intro to the guys on the ground?
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
we got you, Josh. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Cool. Yeah. So hey guys, I'm Josh, or Service at Hand on Twitter. I do investments at PathDAO. My background is a mix of strategy consulting and corporate business strategy. In the last 3 years, I've been working on, to some sense, finding 0 to 1 businesses to enter and crafting like a large equity or valuation story for a multinational telco in somewhere in Asia, right? My background in gaming and crypto in specific would be I've been a free to play MMORPG and a bunch of other genres, a bit of a junkie as a kid till college. And I think in crypto, I only joined in mid 2020 during the Elon boom. So that's just my background.
Awesome. Well, each week, you guys, we want to start bringing more people in. We got a really like motivated and like committed team here, and Josh is a really critical part here. So it's great to have him on. And like, so, you're an analyst. What is like, you talk a little bit, you analyze, but go into a little bit more detail. But like, what exactly you do at Path?
Yeah, I'll give you the broad scope and then I'll go into detail with some of the activities, right? I think part of the investments team, we look at upcoming Web3 games and decide whether to incubate or not. And our value proposition really comes from providing an elite capital package that includes funding, that includes seeding, a set of players just to bootstrap your economy, to play testing and getting feedback on, your early alpha all the way to beta, bit of advisory, and I think importantly, the major connections that is needed to helping in getting your game to succeed, right? And just the other usual, fixing your cold start to operations, etc., and stuff like that. Um, on a weekly basis, what that looks like, in particular, in evaluating that decision, is it includes meeting founders, meeting teams, doing a bit of diligence, desktop research, and then pitching to our investment committee. Most importantly, really, is to hustle and do by our token holders and gamers, Web3 gamers, or just gamers in general, to do justice for them. So yeah.
So I was actually with Josh last week in Amsterdam at the Ethereum conference, and it was pretty amazing because there people were lining up to pick your brain and sort of like ask you about like how you find these projects. I mean, you've been able to really place us in like some really good investments so far. Can you talk about like, I know it's like maybe not standard, but like, do you have a process for analyzing games? Like, like you get people are showing you so many games. How do you find a potential project? Like what do you really look for?
Yeah, it's a good question. So particularly in deal origination or sourcing, or what that really means is just how we're getting in like a flow of deals that's healthy by quantity. We scrub through Twitter, we scrub through sort of the online public resources or sources that you can find, the ones that most of everyone is familiar with, Discord, the community people. I think where we get more quality deal flow that's a lot more early, because that's what we particularly look at, is through our VC networks, right? So we have friends around, sort of in the tier ones, other VCs, guilds that we frequently chat back and forth, and not just for deals, but more of just updating sort of the information within the space, how we're thinking and how we're looking at things. If you're asking, so specifically in terms of how we make that decision, our evaluation process, there are many sort of areas that we look at. In general, there's like a hygiene list, but I'd like to say that we don't always go through each and every one of them just because of the amount of time burn that you have to, I guess, that the amount of time that it takes to actually go through each and every one of them in detail. It's a lot more hypothesis driven or prioritized in a sense of, we will look through certain areas. If it makes sense, then we'll dive deeper. If it doesn't, or if it's enough, then we'll move on just to cover more ground to build that conviction. And like I can name drop a couple of things that we look at, but I'll probably just tell you the most important one, that most of the time determines whether it's a yes or a no, right? And this is honestly speaking also the biggest difference in what I think makes a success of a company versus not, and how bets should be made. The first and foremost will definitely have to be on the founder and the team. Uh, if you think about it, they are the value creators behind each and every one of these projects, right? Whether it's a game or whatnot, but in this case, it's a game. And having a good gauge on what a $1 billion founder looks like versus a budding entrepreneur versus someone who is, a short-term rent seeker, someone who's just here to make money, right? is critical in our decision making process. For the team, what it looks like is, where's the background experience? Is it relevant to game development? Have they worked on significant, reputable projects before? We need to have a sense as to how they're really thinking about it, and that's like super critical, right? I think the second big thing, and I'm just generalizing or rather bucketing a lot of these criteria we look at into the main few. The second is their approach to building. I think a lot of, I guess, newer projects that are upcoming, and I think some of the community members would know this as well, but if you look at the roadmaps, they tend to be very focused on extracting value from the community: land sale, NFT sale, public sale, and sale of this and that and this and that. Instead of launching a decent beta game, or something that's playable, or something to help at least delight the community, and then like in essence creating value there first before extracting. And yeah, so we look at their approach to building basically. It just needs to be sure that it's not short-term harmful and more long-term value creation, right? Then obviously we'll look through the other stuff. It's just typical hygiene stuff to build, like conviction. So bullish founders who are here to build long run than anything that's short term.
Well, and you guys, this is important alpha, right? You guys, because we always have the ongoing alpha competition. So Josh is also, not only finding projects like with the investment team, but he's also analyzing, projects that you guys are bringing to him. So now you got a little bit of a look into how he's analyzing these projects. So you guys can use that as useful information to really use yourself in bringing him information to analyze.
Yeah.
Josh, we got some questions. Obviously, everyone wants to pick your brain. Can you talk about maybe two current investments that really excite you that you found that developing now?
Yeah, for sure. I think like Jensen mentioned, there are two parts to the investment team. One is we look at the longer term private investments, and then the other would be more on short term. There are already games that are public. I think there are, we've invested over 40 investments right now. Of course, I'm excited to see each and every one of them come to fruition. Make it or not is the one that we'll have to see. But to name a few that are, I guess, upcoming, one public that I'm excited for, the first would be Clay Kingdoms. So Clay Kingdoms, you can think of it as if you're familiar with DeFi Kingdoms, it's like DeFi Kingdoms with a treasure DAO roadmap. Maybe to simplify that, it's a 2D MMORPG. It's pixelated. You can play, you can move around, you can jump in different maps, you can create maps with different games, and you can even chat, and you can, I guess, craft different activities, whether it's hosting an event, a minting event, or in general, just anything, maybe even a show, like a concert, all of that, right? Super accessible. I like the fact that the hook here is there's a financial infrastructure that incentivizes you to come in, and that there is a library of casual games, a lot that have been built and have been proven with a healthy user base in Korea. And I'm very excited for that to come on board. In terms of another game, maybe I'd say Karmaverse, because Karmaverse would be interesting in the front that it is the first, well, I won't say first, but it is one of the games that right now are public, that has a addictive game loop. It's a match tree game. It's a match tree puzzle RPG game, where there's a whole core loop where you play per mission, where you get to swipe and match tree like a puzzle. And then when you exit, there's a whole meta game of how do I build on my land? What should I be building first? What resources should I be prioritizing? How should I be, ascending my heroes, just to progress to a better end state? And the end state here, or the end state game, is additionally a social one, where there's a competitive aspect to make you want to spend even more, to make you even want to be a part of a clan and just sort of thrash it out, right? So just these two games for now.
Yeah. NGL, everyone's been talking about Clay Kingdoms. Really excited about that. I think 1,500 scholarships we were releasing.
Yeah,
that
that's
went
insane.
very, very fast. Very fast. Yeah. Very cool, Josh. And so we're gonna try to get you in more often to talk with us.
Yeah,
You got
for
to
sure.
come in on some of the happy hours. You're definitely an expert in all the tokenomics. It's interesting from a communication standpoint. A lot of our partners are constantly reaching out to Josh to help them analyze and develop their white papers. And so what's interesting, you guys, you have to understand that when we make an investment in a company, it's not just a financial investment. The real investment also is the time and the expertise of our team. So whether it's from Josh's side, obviously Weekend Jansen also contributing, to the white papers and the roadmaps. To our side, we're going to start doing some really creative stuff from the marketing standpoint. Where again, we're bringing value, we're bringing eyes, to the project. So it's exciting to hear, Josh, how you find these projects.
Yeah.
I think we have to acknowledge it just because everyone keeps on bringing it up in the comments section. I was again with some of the team last week in Amsterdam, and something that was really interesting. We'll talk about this more on the happy hour. So next week, you guys, we're actually gonna have 3 AMAs. We took a little bit of a break while we were at the conference, but ramping right back up again next week. We're gonna have at least 2 partnerships that we're announcing next week as well, and have a lot in the pipeline that's already. We got some really interesting stuff. So stay tuned for a lot next week. But Josh, everyone's talking about STEPN. When I was in Amsterdam, you guys were walking every morning. Wiki, Jansen. Jansen definitely needs to comment here because I heard a little bit of gossip that he was not walking, but he was jogging for a while, and then that I think switched back to walking. So can you guys just talk a little bit about STEPN? Everyone's writing about it. It's obviously a hot topic right now, and a hot investment of ours. Jansen, I'm going to have you start first. Okay, let's start with the gossip. So for people that don't understand, there's 3 levels of there's 3 levels within STEPN. Is a move to earn. Move to earn is a very hot area right now. Josh and the team has placed us in some very, very good investments in this category. But essentially, you have to go out every day and you have to move in order to earn. Now, there's a couple levels. Jansen, you went in and you started on the aggressive side, right? With a running shoe or a jogging shoe. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, man. No, so I mean, I never used to be quite a active person. So, but when STEPN came out, I was like, oh, okay, now I have an accountability partner. It's gonna force me to exercise every morning, right? So I think the first shoe that we got, and we got it in early February, right? Like I think we brought this to you guys in probably our first happy hour. I mean, if you guys who are tuning in, hope that you guys made some buck out of it, right? But I think the idea was that I realized that this back then when we got in, it wasn't really much on okay, profit out of this shoe, right? It was more like now there's an accountability partner, okay, you can earn a bit, that's cool, right? And I decided to hey, look, let me try the jogging shoe. And I started jogging on it. It took me 15 minutes to burn through my energy. And then I started buying more shoes. And it got me up to 40 minutes. So I had to jog 40 minutes every day at the speed of 8 km per hour. So it's insane, right? I can kind of feel my abs were forming, but it got a bit.
Yeah, so explain that there's a minimum speed you have to keep, right?
Correct,
so Jansen can't just go out and jog. He actually has to jog, a minimum of 8 kilometers per hour nonstop.
If you slow down for jogging,
outside.
right? Yeah, if you're supposed to jog between 7 and 11, is it, or something along the lines, right? Km per hour. If you fall below that speed, you don't earn anything, right? So it kind of forces you to maintain within a specific speed, and it's insane. It's really insane. It was good for a while, and then I realized you know what, it's a bit too difficult. So I took the easy way out and downgraded my shoe to a walker. And now it's a bit more chill, just having those 20-minute walks in the morning. It's good. But it's not
Wiki, let's hear some quick thoughts for you on STEPN. Obviously, you see all the whole team's walking now, right? So Are you part of this? Are you observing from the outside? I was an observer, so last week I loved it, but I was kind of laughing too because they're outside in the cold. We're in Amsterdam. The team is based in Malaysia, where it's very, very hot. Amsterdam this time of year is cold, and every morning you guys were out walking around. So can you give us a little bit of your feedback?
I mean, not gonna lie, from an investment point of view, I mean, we are super torn as a team because, on one hand, it's probably the greatest Ponzi ever designed. You walk and you earn, and on the other hand, you think that when it's going to collapse, right? So, from an investment point of view, our team is constantly monitoring sort of the growth of the users, and we think is still at a decent growth rate. But the question is always, is it already priced in, right? Now, everything is priced in the world, right? So, so we are constantly monitoring that. And in terms of our sort of community, or like in terms of the DAO operations, we are still continuing for a little bit, but we are very, very active in terms of monitoring the sort of ecosystem. And I think the StepN team is working super hard to sort of adjust the tokenomics around, which, I will let Josh and Jensen probably elaborate a little bit more. But my point of view is that my personal investment back, I didn't really go in, and probably feel a bit too late. But for those folks who are already in, having massive sort of delta from the current price and their entry price, and still probably make a bit more sense to continue. Yeah.
Okay, Josh. So Weekend gave thoughts on this. StepN is obviously one project, but we're really looking at like a whole kind of new area here with Move to Earn, right? Can you just give a little bit of thoughts and comments on Move to Earn before we finish up here?
Yeah, for sure. I think Move to Earn is a genius concept that makes complete sense. And the reason why is when I look at it sort of in the in the TartFi world or in Web 2, a lot of insurance companies have been trying to incentivize people to either buy insurance programs, plans, to even post having those plans, trying to incentivize them to have a better lifestyle in terms of fitness. And it's all related to sort of insurance pricing, right? And so Move to Earn now becomes this incentive mechanism to get people to do it. One, on the plus side, actually not even one, the main driver, it being that now there's financial rewards. And not just that, but if you can create a Move to Earn concept project that is to some sense decently sustainable, and I think StepN at this current moment looks decently sustainable for a couple of reasons. I'll share why later. Then there's just plenty or ample room for them to collaborate with any Web2 or revenue generating businesses. I think opportunities are massive here, and one of it that you've already seen, I mean, StepN has collaborated with ASICS. There's no reason or doubt for me as to why they wouldn't want to continue sort of their momentum here. In terms of economic sustainability, I think what's smart so far, and curious to see how this fully pans out, especially with the larger user base, is that they have two token economies where you've got GST and you've got GMT. And in this case, what StepN acts is like a central bank where they can regulate both GST prices and GMT prices, which again determines sort of the incentive as to why people will want to come in and continue working. But they have full control over it, right? It's not just determined by the smart contract. In this case, they have the ability to control not so much the emissions portion, but more so the demand portion, which is why would people want to buy more GST? Why would people want to buy more GMT? What's the profitability like? What's the margin like? And yeah, I think that's genius. I mean, there's obviously more to talk about it, but yeah.
So you guys, one thing that's going to be coming up, Josh and the financial team are actually starting a podcast. It's going to be like a Path, like Alpha like hour. So you heard a little bit from Josh today. He's like super knowledgeable about all this stuff. I mean, projects are literally coming to him like to get advice on all the white papers and everything. So we're going to be sharing that soon with you guys, but like look for the financial team to start like sharing that alpha like out with you. And as Jensen said, like tune in like to our AMAs, right? Like Steppen was mentioned back in February on a happy hour. So happy hours are starting again next week. You might hear some information there that 2-3 months down the road you really wish you had like listened to. So remember, you guys hit the subscribe button. We're over 300 followers now. Community is working really, really hard. We appreciate all of you guys. We appreciate your contributions in Discord with the alpha, bringing your friends in also. I don't know if you guys have seen the Discord numbers. We've really, really grown in the last 2 weeks. We're above 30,000 again. Jensen alluded earlier tonight that the gamer number has also grown. I don't know if that's public yet, but we were at 5,000 before. That number is growing rapidly. So thank you guys all just for listening in tonight. Any questions that weren't answered, don't hesitate to ping any of us in the Discord. Again, we are having a happy hour on Tuesday, so we can jump right back in on some of these subjects. And yeah, just thank you everyone for tuning in. Wiki, Jensen, Josh, appreciate your time.
Yep. DeFi disrupt. Final alpha. Bye.
PathDAO. See you guys. Have a great day.
I appreciate it. Take care. Have a good one.